This week's video is sponsored by Storyblox. The 24 to 70mm lens is probably one of the most misunderstood lenses in outdoor photography. It's not ultra wide and dramatic, and it's not a big telephoto that compresses distant mountains. It just sits in the middle, doesn't it? And because of that, a lot of photographers feel like it's a bit of a boring lens. I think this could be because it doesn't exaggerate foreground like a 16mm does, and it doesn't simplify chaotic scenes in the way 200mm can. It simply shows the scene as it is. But when I look back through my own landscape work over the last years, a number of my favourite images were taken somewhere between 24 and 70. And I don't think that's a coincidence. So in this video I want to talk about why this lens can feel underwhelming at first, what's actually happening when you use it, and how you can start using it in a way that I think genuinely strengthens your compositions. Now, this isn't about saying this is the best lens ever, it's just about understanding what it does well, especially for outdoor photography. So let's start with why it might feel flat for so many people. So when you shoot ultra wide, everything can feel quite dramatic straight away, can't it? You know, your foreground becomes huge, the sky feels expansive, and depth can be exaggerated. When you shoot long, everything simplifies, doesn't it? You know, distant hills kind of stack together, distractions disappear, and you can isolate light and shape very easily. The 24 to 70 exaggerates a lot less at the wide end and doesn't compress that much at the long end. And it's much closer to how we naturally see the world. And that's exactly why it can feel uninspiring, I think, to so many photographers. Now, I think this focal range can't hide a weak composition. You know, if your foreground isn't strong, I think you'll see it. If your layers, I guess, aren't balanced, you'll see that too. If the spacing between the elements feels awkward, it becomes obvious very, very quickly. It's a focal range that can show weakness in composition, I think, very, very easily. Now, I just want to talk about how I use this lens and why it's my favourite focal range. But first, we need to deep dive into why it's such a versatile lens and what is actually going on when we rotate the zoom ring. So, as you might know, zooming and moving are not the same thing, are they? And I think this can be a common misconception. So we might find ourselves standing in one spot and twisting the zoom ring back and forth, trying to, I guess, find a composition. You know, you go from 24 to 50 to 70 and back again, hoping that something clicks, but nothing, I guess, really changes in a meaningful way. And that's because zooming only changes framing. It's not changing the relationships between the elements within the frame. We can only change relationships if we actually move. So moving changes the spacing of the subjects within the frame, and I think that's a huge difference. Imagine you're photographing two rocks, one in the foreground and one in the midground. If you take two steps closer, the relationship between those two rocks changes. The rock in the midground appears smaller relative to the foreground. The spacing between the elements shifts. If you stay exactly where you are and zoom in from 24 to say 70, the relationship between those rocks doesn't change at all. You're simply cropping tighter. The scene feels the same, just closer. And that can be a misunderstanding, I think. And it might be why the 24 to 70 feels boring. It's often because we're expecting the zoom ring to fix a compositional problem. But it can't. The only thing it can do is exclude unwanted distractions from the edge of our frame or allow more things into our frame. Now, before we get into why I found this super important for outdoor photography, I would just like to thank the sponsor of this week's video, which is Storyblox. Now, I usually use all of my own video footage in my videos, but for this one I wanted to try something a little bit different. So for the intro to this week's video, I used some video footage from Storyblox to help set the tone and build some atmosphere. Storyblox is essentially an all-in-one creative toolkit that brings together high-quality stock footage, music, sound effects and templates in one place, which can make the whole process of creating videos much, much smoother. One of the things I really appreciate is that all of the content is 100% human made. It's created by filmmakers and artists from around the world, so everything feels authentic and professionally produced. It's not AI generated stock, it's real footage that can help you elevate your storytelling. They also have thousands of customizable templates for things like title animations, overlays and motion graphics. And everything you download is royalty free as well and pre-licensed for personal, commercial and even monetized YouTube work, which gives you real peace of mind. If you want to start telling better stories with the tools that I use, head over to storyblocks.com/Ian Worth, and they're offering 15% off an annual plan for a limited time. And that discount is only available through my link down in the description. So yeah, please do go and check those links out. And a big thanks to Storyblocks for supporting the channel. So in landscape or outdoor photography, we're constantly dealing with layers: foreground, midground, and typically our background. And these are relationships. And the distance between those layers is absolutely everything, I think. So with an ultra wide lens, you can exaggerate the foreground so much that it creates instant depth. You only need to move the camera, say, an inch or two to completely change the composition, meaning it's easier to do so from a fixed spot. With a telephoto lens, you can remove foreground entirely and focus purely on distant shapes and light. Again, without moving too much, just by simply moving the camera position a little bit. But with a 24-70, you're working in a much more natural range. You can't really rely on distortion, and you can't rely on heavy compression either. You have to think very carefully about where you stand. How far are you from your foreground? How large do you want it to appear? How does it relate to the background? This focal range forces you to think about balance, and that's why I actually believe it is one of the best lenses for improving your composition. It exposes everything. If an image works, I think at 35 or 50, it usually works because the perspective genuinely works, not because the lens added some kind of dramatic effect. So how do I personally use a 24-70 in the field? Well, when I arrive at a scene for the first time, what I do is try to pre-visualize my framing in terms of the width and height of my shot. I will then zoom my lens to fit that framing and take a test shot to evaluate what's actually going on. And I'm typically looking at how the elements within the frame are balanced together. The next logical step is, if I want to compress the elements or widen their position, I'll then move forwards or backwards while zooming to maintain the framing. And I'm watching how the layers change. I'm noticing how the foreground lines up with the background, and I'm paying attention to spacing and balance. If something feels slightly off, I don't twist the zoom ring straight away. I adjust my position first. And once the perspective feels right, once the relationship between the elements feels balanced, that's typically when I start to zoom. And at that point, the zoom isn't really solving the composition, it's just refining it. So maybe I widen slightly to include a little more sky, or perhaps I zoom in a touch to remove a distraction from the edge of the frame. But the heavy lifting has already been done by moving my feet. And I think that mindset shift makes a huge difference. The zoom just tidies it up, it doesn't rescue the composition. This is also why prime lenses are such good teachers. You know, when you shoot with a 35 or a 50, you don't have the option to zoom your way out of trouble, do you? You know, you've actually got to move. If the composition isn't working, yeah, the only thing you can do is actually move. So over time, that builds instinct. You start to feel how perspective changes as you take steps forward and back, and you begin to understand the spacing even without thinking about it. If you bring that discipline back to the 24-70, it becomes an incredibly flexible tool. You're no longer relying on the zoom, you're using it intentionally in the same way that we'd use a prime. Obviously, you can't zoom with a prime, but you know what I mean. So if you want to practice this, try something simple next time you're out with your camera. Find a scene with a clear foreground and background and take one image at, say, 24mm. Then move backwards and take another one at, say, 50 or 70, trying to keep the foreground roughly the same size in the frame. And now look carefully at how the background changes. Then do the opposite, stand in one spot and zoom from 24-70 without moving. Compare the two sets of images. And once you see that difference clearly a few times, it really does stick. And the lens starts to make a lot more sense, I think. Now, I don't think 24-70 will ever feel like as dramatic as an ultra wide, and I think that's okay, because what it gives you is realism and balance. It's a brilliant focal range, I think, for coastal scenes, woodland, rolling hills, places where you want depth without distortion. And if your composition works somewhere between 24 and 70, it might also work at other focal lengths as well. So if you've ever felt like the 24-70 is a bit uninspiring, I completely understand, but next time you're out, maybe try to move more and zoom less. Find the perspective first, then refine. And I think you might start to see that this so-called boring focal range is actually one of the most honest and most educational lenses that you can carry for outdoor photography. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this week's little chat. A big thanks again to Storyblocks for sponsoring this week's episode. The discounted link is down in the video description. You may find this video over here very useful as well. And on the other side, you'll find links to my website where you'll find my photo galleries and other useful things that might help your photography. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I do hope to see you again next week.